and I am happy and excited to welcome you to the 2022 Pitch for the Trades Ask Me Anything. So today we are going to be covering all the questions you might have, as well as hearing from some past pitch winners, sharing their best practices, tips, and everything that you need to make a winning pitch. So to get us started, I'll just do some housekeeping. I want to make sure that you use your Zoom tools wisely. So attendees are in watch and listen mode. The webinar is being recorded and will be shared out with all the registrants afterwards. So in order to interact, you can utilize the Q&A area, and that's where you should post your questions to make sure that we answer them. And then the chat, you can switch between the everyone chat. And so I recommend that for comments, compliments, and smiley faces, or the host and panelists chat. If you need some technical assistance, we'll be able to help you there. So to kick us off, I'm going to hand it over to Teresa McLennan to get us started.
Thank you, Erica. And thank you to everyone for your time and engagement with NACCE. We couldn't be here without you, and we're so excited to have you here with your curiosity about Pitch for the Trades. I want to take just a few minutes to reflect on what we've accomplished over the last 3 years and what we're going to do in the future with Pitch for the Trades. We know that the 15 schools who've won the pitch competition in the past are just the tip of the iceberg of schools who are doing wonderful things in the skilled trades and the apprenticeships. So just as a little recap, I'd like to remind you that pitches that folks have done and have won include additive manufacturing at Harper College, Kauai, Dirk Soma is on with us today, sustainable building technology construction, and also from Rio Salado College in Arizona, the training aids for a construction electrician in the prisons, a building marketing campaign in the trades at Tarrant Community College, and Wake Tech Community College embedding entrepreneurial courses into cosmetology and barbering program. And that was our inaugural pitch event. It was so successful that our partners, the Ratcliffe Foundation, decided to give us a multi-year grant so that we could continue this great work and encourage other colleges to participate in the program and expand their trades and apprenticeships programs. So in 2019, we awarded $75,000 in grants. In 2020, we awarded $125,000 to 5 schools, including North Idaho College, Beachside Bistro, tongue twister there, and City College of San Francisco's Entrepreneur and Innovation Skills Trade Center, Washita HVAC Partnership Pipeline, and Catawba Valley Partnership, one of a kind with Catawba Valley Farms. Also, Barstow Community College's Trade Technician Jumpstart Program. So those were winners of the 125. Oh, Lee, come on, get up here. Sorry about that, everyone. And those were our winners in 2020. And then this past year, if you were fortunate enough to attend the NACCE conference, come on, in Minneapolis, you saw some of our winners, the 2021 winners, 2 of whom are here with us today, Snow College, Snow Organics Composting, our TCAT school and their skilled trades hero, Becoming an Entrepreneurial Rock Star, which is a virtual reality program, Hawking College, Entrepreneurship and Farrier Science, Salt Lake City with truck driving, and NIACCE for their clean slate employability. And those winners took away a total of $135,000. This coming year, all told, in October of 2022, with the past and this coming year, we will have given away nearly $500,000 in grants, travel, and conference stipends. And this is so exciting because we know that there's great work going on out there and we want you to be a part of it. So thank you for joining us today and learning more about this so that you can be our next pitch winners. Here to talk a little bit about the partnership between the Philip E. and Carole R. Ratcliffe Foundation and the great works that we've been achieving is my friend and colleague, Carlene Cassidy, CEO of the Philip E. and Carole R. Ratcliffe Foundation. Carlene?
Hey, everybody. It is great to be here and just be part of the NACCE Nation. And what we know from this competition, and I'm grateful for Teresa's leadership from the beginning, because she's done a great job of capturing the stories of what's happened with these winners, what's happened with these programs over the last few years once they won this competition. And what we know is it's allowed people to just continue to grow their programs and serve their communities. And they've leveraged this money to get more money, to get other stakeholders involved, to serve a broader population, to enhance what already exists on these amazing campuses. I will tell you that one of my favorite things that happens each year, besides St. Patrick's Day, is watching the Pitch for the Trade competition. Every year, the bar gets higher and higher, and the presentations are creative. But what's exciting for me, and I think for the entire NACCE community, is the involvement of the entire campus. We've seen college presidents who've worn everything from hard helmets to guitars. I mean, it's just so cool to see the level of excitement and enthusiasm and support for these programs. And we know when those programs come back to campus and there's that kind of excitement, it just blossoms. And we love to see that. So we are excited for this year's competition. We owe a lot of gratitude to all of those winners that I'm going to say, all the winners that have come before you, because as you submit your applications to compete, you have a lot of role models to look at to say, what did they do? How did they do it? And what are some of the lessons that can be learned from those folks who've already competed? And with that, I hand it over to the true experts. And that's those folks who have already competed, been very successful with their competitions, and they have a lot of wisdom to share with you. So I'm looking forward to hearing their remarks, and I'm looking forward to seeing your presentations come October.
Thank you, Carlene. That's great. So, and that's a little bit why I went over the past winners, so that you all who are thinking of applying can say, what did win? Composting won? Oh, that's so great. What are you talking about? Virtual reality? Wow, what a dichotomy, but all still in the skilled trades. So let's hear from our past winners. We have Russ Tanner with Snow College. He was a 2021 winner with his Snowganics program. Also, Dirk Soma, Kauai Community College, and Dirk worked on sustainable building practices. He's also been a pitch judge and mentor, so he's gotten to see the competition from multiple sides. He has a lot of knowledge to share with us. And Becky Russell with TCAT and her Guitar Hero virtual reality. I'll let her talk a little bit about that if you all didn't already see them at the competition last year. So all of you, we can in any order. I'm not going to say who answers what question, but so would one of you like to tell me, how did you come about deciding or landing on a project that won at your school?
Sure, I can speak to that, Teresa. And I think my answer here speaks to the power of NACCE and its network and the conferences and meeting people and taking advantage of the resources that are out there. So part of the way we came about this idea was because I had talked to Dirk. So I heard Dirk pitch, and I knew that they were doing something. And then he had offered to help me. We had a phone call, and he was telling me about another project that his students were doing, which was selling coffee in Hawaii. And I thought, that's so cool. I love how you're taking this hands-on approach. You're giving your students this really cool real-world experience. So that was the first thing. Dirk was really one of the inspirations. And then our agriculture business department here was doing some things. And so it was a combination of those two things that I decided, you know what, we're going to go for it. I had spent 2 years sharing this opportunity with like all of our tradespeople here at Snow College, our welding department, like construction management saying, hey, this is an awesome opportunity. You guys should really do it. And of course, nobody did anything. So finally, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it. So I'm the Entrepreneurship Center director here. So this is a partnership between the Entrepreneurship Center and our ag business. And we looked around at the assets that we had at our campus, which we have a farm. We have a rodeo team. The horses produce a lot of manure. We have a facilities department, probably much like all of your schools, where they cut the grass, they rake the leaves, and then they dump it in a big pile. So most of this stuff was just going unused. Occasionally it would get shoveled up and put on a flower garden or on lawns or something. But we decided, what could we do with this? Could we take these resources and turn it into a usable asset and actually sell it? And could we do it in a way that would give students a real hands-on learning opportunity? So with Dirk's help and like his expertise with what he'd done with his students and with our ag business, we were able to put something together. And I don't know how we won because we were a pretty crappy presentation, but anyway, there's so many great jokes.
That was a joke. Yeah, that was absolutely not true. It was a great presentation. And I love that Dirk was able to help you not only as your mentor going through this project, because he actually was selected as your mentor, but that he mentored you beforehand. But Dirk, you didn't have a mentor you were the inaugural. So how did you come up with your project?
Well, you know the old saying, right? Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while. So I think our idea behind it was we had this great resource on our campus, 40 acres of land. And we've been talking for years about housing and the need for housing for our students, for our faculty. So the idea came to my head is that, look, why don't we use our partner with our building construction trade students who usually just become employees, right? They go through the process and they get hired by a contractor, but none of them ever aspire to be owners of companies. So let's infuse the entrepreneurial mindset into these students so that they can look at, once they gain their skills to become owners, but at the same time, how can we utilize this 40 acres of land to design and build green and sustaining communities using products, using the latest products on energy saving, wind technology, closed systems for disposal, all those kind of things. How would we build these structures? So the students were able to, the plan was, let's get the students involved with this. And we actually were very fortunate enough to come together with a project that met all the criteria that Ratcliffe was looking for in the very first year. And it's good to be known as one of the OGs from the competition, be a part of it. And it's great to be able to help Russ and all the others going forward. And I got to give props to Russ because he was coming to Hawaii on vacation, I think it was, and he reached out. And he said, do you know good places to eat in Hawaii? And by the way, tell me about the programs that you've been working on. I mean, so, he's got a great wife that allowed him to do business while they were on vacation. So it was really cool to be able to help us in this project. So
she was definitely okay with going to Hawaii to do that. So I just have to say, thanks, Dirk.
Yeah, and that's a great way. It sounds like Russ, you reeled Dirk in very nicely by asking him about his project. So people love to talk about their things. So kudos to you. What about you, Becky? How did you guys come up with your project?
Here on our campus, we always have kind of these projects that we want to do, and we don't always have funding for them. So they're just kind of like dreams that are out there. We've got a group that gets together every once in a while and we look at, is there funding available for certain projects? So we had a list of projects that we could have chosen from. So when we learned about the Pitch for the Trades, and our president, she is all about NACCE. She is the one who introduced it to our college. She's only been here a few years. And so when she said, hey, there's Pitch for the Trades money out there, do you want to pitch? I'm like, well, yeah. And she said, what are you going to pitch for? And I was like, I don't know. but we're going to do it. So I said, let's get this dream team together. What are your dreams? What are your hopes and dreams? And so we just went through an assessment like, okay, who needs something first? And then does it fit within the criteria? And some of the dreams are still out there because they didn't fit within this criteria. But when we found the pitch that was going to fit within the criteria, we knew that, this is what we're going to do. Now let's, pick the team that's going to be involved in this. So it was a pretty easy selection, I think. And there's about 6 or 8 of us that got together and made the final decision on what we would be pitching for.
That's great. I love that you have a list that you're just keeping track, and I want to encourage all schools to think that way. Like, let's really prioritize and get our list together. So when things come up, like funding, Ratcliffe funding or whatever, you're ready to go. So that's kind of what we're hoping will happen with this webinar. We'll get people excited and they'll start thinking about their projects right now. So get them ready for this fall. Who did you invite to be on your team? I heard some teams tell me like it was so unwieldy. We had, just pulling everyone in together. It's too hard. How did you go about determining how big your team was going to be and who would be on it? Russ, let's go with you since you went first last time.
Okay, so for us, it was actually pretty simple, Teresa. We in our entrepreneurship center, there's me, and then I have one colleague, and then Jay Olson, who is the dean of our business department. That's a new role. He was the director of the ag business department before that. So it was the 3 of us. So we basically said, what's it going to take to get this done? Who cares about it? Who's motivated to actually put the time in and the work in, and who has the resources? And who's motivated, let's do it. So it was the 3 of us. And since then it's grown a lot, because that was really the pitch team. I mean, that was the initial team, but our pitch was really more about getting students involved. So now I have a class with 11 students in it, and they're really the ones, they're split into 4 teams by function, and they're really the ones leading this project now. As I mentioned earlier, we have people in our finance department that are supporting this. We have people in our facilities department supporting it. It touches a lot of different areas, and also people in the community. The more we go out and talk about this is what we're doing, it's just amazing. More and more people are like, I love that. I wish I had that opportunity when I was in school. That's so cool. I want to support you guys. So the team is growing, but our initial team of 3 was pretty easy for us to nail that down.
And I am remiss in, I kind of just mentioned what your projects were, but I didn't give you an opportunity to say, a little bit about your project. So just in your, you all had to do a 3 to 5 line synopsis of what your project is. Just give us a little overview. So as I know what you're talking about, but the people watching probably have no idea what you mean, like broken up into teams or anything. So I'm sorry about that. If you could give us a little synopsis of what your project is.
Okay. I think I have some photos that Erica could share if she's able. So our pitch is really, we put the manure in entrepreneurship. So this is Snowganics compost. It's taking horse manure and green waste from our college campus and learning the process of composting to turn it into a commercial compost product that benefits students, our college campus, and community members. So there you see some of our students getting a real hands-on experience there. This is not our compost. This is a local, much larger operation than what we're doing. But we're learning. Like, this is so cool because the students are learning how this works. And not all these students are ag students, as you can see. We actually have a pretty good representation of international students. We have students from India, Turkey, Honduras, Ecuador, Mexico, and the United States. So it's an amazing representation there, and women and men. So anyway, I don't know if that explains. Oh, when I said they're split up by team, we have a sales and marketing team, we have a finance and accounting team, we have an operations team, and we have a production team. So they're each tackling those 4 functional areas of a business and getting this experience to understand how do they work together? How do you budget things? The operations team needs to put a bid together to get a bagger machine. How do they work with the finance team to do that? So it's really cool. I mean, it's fun to see them learning and just coming alive with excitement.
Thank you. I think that helps. It helps clarify it a little bit. So Dirk, I'll have you say the same thing, maybe talk a little bit about your sustainable building, and then, which you did a little bit, but I think you missed the whole thing about the containers and building that part, which was really fascinating. And then how did you select your team?
Okay, so our project basically was focusing on how do we develop a community on campus with the 40 acres that we had. But don't just build traditional housing, because we'd have to import all of the goods and materials, but what can we do to repurpose existing materials that are on our island and reuse some species of trees that are usually used as trash. So we repurposed the albizia, looking at ways to design student and faculty housing around that. The shipping containers and taking a container home, building a container home. We also looked at how do we design a student dorm that would take advantage of the natural trade winds, the natural light, and those kinds of things. So utilizing the newest technologies and traditional materials to create this community that would be sustainable. So that was the project. At the same time, the students are getting to learn how to become entrepreneurs in this and look at the opportunity to become business owners down the road. So my team, kind of like Russ, I'm the only business faculty member full-time. We only have one construction trades faculty member who we got a great relationship with. And he and I and his division chair just kind of brainstormed real quick. And I gave him the kind of template and said, hey, does this work? What do you guys need? They helped me with that. And then we just pulled it together and got a final blessing from our admin, and we were off and running. So it was like, it was good to have a small number because you could come to a decision real quickly. And I think at the time we had a real quick turnaround the very first year, but it worked out having that small team. But like Russ, now it's growing, so we won in October. At the end of our fall semester in December, we do a donors reception, and we were able to present our project. We were asked to present our project at the donors reception. And right at the end of that, a donor came up and she said, I love what you're doing. What do you need? So we were able to leverage the 15,000 that we won for another 16,000 right then and there to make the project happen. So all the materials and supplies that we needed to build out the sample dorm room came right through that. So it's leveraging the community to build the team for future.
That's great. We love hearing about leveraging funds. That's wonderful. So Becky, if you could go over your project just a little bit and also tell us how you went about selecting your team of people.
All right, so our project is for virtual reality equipment that we're going to be using on our campus. We were trying to figure out how are our students going to become business owners and what prevents them from doing that. And one of the major issues I feel like is fear. So fear for what? Sometimes it's safety and sometimes it's finances, but either way, I think that it's important that they are able to overcome those things. So we want this virtual reality equipment so that we could improve their confidence levels without them having any skin in the game whatsoever. One of our team members actually said something, and it was so funny, and it is very telling of her kind of attitude toward everything. She said, I've learned something. If it costs a lot or hurts a lot, you learn a lot. And so we don't want it to cost a lot or hurt a lot, but we still want them to learn a lot. So we're putting them in these scenarios. So what would the financial risk have been, and go through the scenario, and how much money would you have lost if that were a real, a real scenario, or we're going to put you in a unsafe situation in a very safe way and see, were you going to electrocute yourself, or were you going to, damage something really, really important. So we are able to put them in those scenarios so they can make all of those mistakes up front and figure out. Sometimes the best way to figure out how to do something is how to figure out or is to figure out how not to do something. So we're putting in the students in those scenarios and just helping them figure everything out before they've got skin in the game. For us choosing the team, I feel like it's always important to have a workhorse on the team, just somebody who will work toward the cause. And somebody that's creative. So I became the workhorse and the creative person. My actual class doesn't benefit from the virtual reality equipment at all, but the entire rest of the school does. It's just the way it works out. So I became the creative person and the workhorse that just kind of kept everybody moving in the right direction. And then choosing the rest of the team, we obviously needed somebody that would benefit from this. So we pulled in some of the instructors that would actually benefit from the use of the virtual reality equipment. And then they were also experts in the field, like, how is this going to benefit your students? Because if it was not going to be beneficial, we did not want to claim prize money when it could have gone to support a different, even for a different school. We just wanted that prize money to be worth it for somebody. So was it worth it? And we made our assessments and we decided together, this is definitely a worthwhile project.
Thank you. Well, my next question is, what do you feel makes a winning pitch? Now, I know that all of you were very engaging. That is one of the things that makes a successful pitch. You could have the best project on the planet, but if it's not very engaging, the judges and the audience are not really going to buy into that. So, Becky, what do you think made your pitch so successful?
Creativity, I think, had to be there. I just wanted people to have fun. We were going to have fun. We wanted everybody else to have fun. And I thought that was one of the most important things. I knew that everybody that was going to be on this pitch project, their projects were worth it, or they wouldn't be on the stage. So when you level the playing field like that, so everybody's on this level playing field, then how do you win? How would they choose, that winning project? So I said, let's just go out, be rock stars, and have fun with it. So that's exactly what we did. Obviously, it needed to have some kind of tie-in to the actual pitch. So one of the things that we were looking at is, like, what was our first experience with virtual reality? And so many people, their first experience was with Guitar Hero. So we based it on that. And we said, do you remember playing Guitar Hero? That actually created a ton of musicians. Like, I would have never guessed it. We're just playing around, right? But a ton of musicians were actually made because of that. We're hoping that we're going to create a ton of business owners and a ton of electricians and welders and collision repair technologists because of, the virtual reality equipment. So I think one of the major things is have fun, make sure that it is engaging and just entertaining.
Thank you. And if any of you all watching this did not get to see the original pitch, you can see it on the NACCE page. It's in the chat button. And all of these pitches are, well, Russ and Becky's pitches were awesome. So I don't think, Dirk, we weren't that advanced to record everything in the beginning. I'm not sure that that's out there in 2019. But what do you think, Dirk, made your pitch winning? It was great.
Well, I think the judges thought that if the team from Hawaii won, they might have an opportunity to come to see the project. That might have helped. But we really just showed that need, told the story, just like how you teach the students on how to do a pitch, their elevator pitch, and put those kinds of things out there. Make sure that you're meeting the need, you're meeting their criteria, and just show the impact that you can make. And, by showing that need first, and then the benefit piece, and very clearly state your outcomes of what will happen, that really worked. And, from a judge's standpoint, last year, I think that the pitches that did come away as winners, you know, Russ's and Becky's and the others, you know, really followed that script, right? They showed that need, and they showed the benefits. They showed how they were going to do this, and they were just great elevator pitches. And again, the energy, the sincerity, and the humor that was put in really went a long way. But bottom line is, you know, it makes a lot of sense, and they were able to answer the questions that the judges did put out to them. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for offering that perspective from as a judge too. That's really important. Russ, what about you? What do you think made your pitch a winning pitch?
Well, I echo what Becky and Dirk said. So I'm the Entrepreneurship Center director here at Snow College, and I run pitch competitions. So every month I coach students and I watch student pitches. And this was actually a good opportunity for me to practice what I preach and see, can I actually do a pitch? You know, because it's a little scary when you're up in front of people and you forget what you're talking about, you know. So I think it comes down to, one thing is knowing your audience. And a lot of this goes to Carlene. I don't know if she's still listening, but Carlene has just like really, yeah, there she is. Like she's made this pitch competition fun, and it definitely rewards student-led initiatives. I think it also rewards colleges that are trying to take advantage of like their assets and the resources they have, and not trying to get maybe too big, too fast, or overpromise something that might sound really cool, but in reality, what can you really do, right? So I think you see that in the winners that have come out of this over the last 3 years. There's some similarities. And I have to say, when we did the semifinals, you know, we took a camera out to the manure pile where the horse stalls are, and we had some technical glitches and things, and we couldn't see the reaction of the judges because we were in front of the camera, and so we couldn't see the screen. And we were making some jokes, and then we came around, we did our little pitch, and then we came around to answer questions. And I was kind of worried. I was like, oh, maybe we overdid it, you know, like nobody's really like smiling or laughing. And I don't know, maybe the manure thing was too much, you know. And then when we got into the finals, we said, okay, I guess, yeah, it's working. This is what they want to hear. So we're going to go with that, as well as, I mean, it has to be both. Like Dirk said, it's got to be fun, make it creative, like do the guitar thing. Like Becky's team was awesome, you know, the Guitar Hero, it totally took me back. And you have to be able to answer the questions about, well, why do you need this much money? Why can't you do it for half that amount, you know? Or how are the students going to really engage with this? Or what is the demand like for this, you know? So it comes down to the same principles that students follow in their pitch competitions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think, you know, we can all learn from our students, and sometimes it's good for us to be back up there and engaging in this kind of activity ourselves, just to remember what are we teaching, and take that to heart. So I'm going to switch the questions up that I gave you a little bit and just say, what do you wish you'd known about the pitch competition before you went into it? Is there anything that you know, you would give to future pitchers that, you know, to say, hey, I didn't realize this was part of it, or whatever, that kind of thing? What would you suggest people really pay attention to that you maybe missed, or we didn't get the information to you? What do you think, Dirk?
Well, I think that the NACCE team did an excellent job in prepping us the very first year. It was well spelled out on what the process was going to be, and you know, the judging criteria and all those kinds of things. I think one of the takeaways from the initial group that I remember all of us talking about was making sure that you had a foundation account or somewhere that the funds can go to should you win. I think that was a big piece, because a couple of the teams that did win that first year, you know, I know there were some challenges in actually getting the funds over to their campuses because they didn't have that set up. I think, again, another internal thing I wish I knew was that, not so much the pitch, but as far as sustaining it down the road, you really got to have administrative buy-in. And Becky, it sounds, great that your president actually is the one leading you and pushing you folks to do this. That is an integral part, because you can do so much on your own in a faculty capacity, but eventually you're going to have to get, again, those blessings. And, I'm sure all of us on this call are the type that ask for forgiveness instead of permission, but eventually that catches up to you. So you've got to start being a little proactive and get that permission ahead of time.
Anybody else?
As I've thought about this question, Teresa, I really don't know in terms of like information or process what more I could have known, because I think you do such a good job of sharing this information, publicizing these webinars. Like, the information is there. Mostly what I would say is just try it, just go for it. Like, I love what Becky said. They have a lot of ideas written down. Like, pull out the list, talk to the team and just say, come on, there's something that fits, let's do it. And then try to have fun with it. I think that was one of the things we really tried to do. And I felt like we were rewarded for that. So go for it, have fun. What do you have to lose?
I love that. And I have to say kudos to Russ, because we did an Ask Me, or it was Ask Us Anything in, I think, June or July of last year. And I gave out my phone number at that event. And I was on my way, I live in Idaho, and I was driving to Boise, 8 hours away. And all of a sudden my phone starts ringing and I'm like, I don't know anybody in Utah. I don't even know. I'm not answering this. I usually don't answer my phone if I don't know. And then I was like, you know what? I did just give out my phone number. And it couldn't have been a couple hours later, or even an hour after I'd gotten off given my number out. So I had to say, when I got that call, wow, good for him for making the phone call and asking the other questions, because if you didn't get them answered in the webinar, we are open to answering your questions and encouraging you. Do you think your idea is even plausible? I'm not going to be specific on, no, your idea is never going to work, or it's just the most fantastic, but like, does it meet the criteria? Is it sustainable? Is it, that kind of thing? Do you have buy-in from your campus? So hopefully that was helpful. And obviously it was, because here you are as a winner and your project's going great. But you're right. Just ask the questions, put yourself out there, and we'll see what happens next. Becky, what about you?
I think that a great thing for you guys to do is get on and watch the recording of the pitches from this past year. Russ was amazing. I love the dad jokes and the puns. That was my world that day. And we really had no idea what to expect. And so after the first couple of pitches, we kind of looked at each other and they're like, are we really going to do this? And I'm like, I did not style my hair like this. I did not shred a t-shirt, did not get up there and do it. So we are going to win it or we are going to lose it, but we're going to be all in. So really just get all in, get a team with complete buy-in and have fun with it. Definitely watch the pitches from last year. The other thing that I think that I wish that I had known ahead of time is, like, when you win the money, then what? Because I feel like it has been such a grueling, slow process, because we are so excited to have won, but then it almost just hit a brick wall for a long time before anything has happened. And we are finally actually moving. We're seeing some forward movement with our project. And so I'm not saying that it's not worth it. Just know ahead of time, like, okay, well, when this happens, then what are the next steps? And I wish that I had known, like, were there steps that I could have taken in preparation so that we could have kept the ball rolling a little smoother? And, that was on our end. I definitely, having if I'm able to do this pitch again, or, going through it with other people, if there's another team, then that's what I'm going to say is, okay, let's find out what happens when you win the money, and just assume you're going to win, because it'd be better to be prepared for what if I did, than to, get stuck. So
I think that's a great suggestion. So if you all are thinking going forward of pitching, and you're going to need to purchase certain supplies, just line them up, get the bids so that you already have them. What's the worst that can happen? You don't buy them. But if you have it all lined up, then when the money hits your account, you can just take off running. So, or if you have curriculum that you need to get approved, just get it in the pipeline. So I think that's a great idea. Don't stop at the when I win, make your timeline. Like, all of you in the application said, is this a 3-month, a 6-month, a 12-month project? Well, maybe a timeline of what your next steps are going to be could help you implement your project more quickly. So, well, thank you to each of you for sharing. Does anybody have any last minutes before I go into what we're going to do this coming year?
I wanted to say one thing really quick. And this is because, Carlene is such a entrepreneur and innovator and wanting to add value. You folks didn't know that you were going to get a mentor, right? And that wasn't spelled in the criteria. And it just so happened when we were in the judging room going through this, Carlene said, hey, let's add some value to this. So Carlene, you want to share how that came about, and if that's going to be a piece going forward?
That was just one of those spontaneous moments where we felt like every one of the winners did such a phenomenal job. They had such great project ideas, but the judges had a comment for each one that was really good. It was a yes and. Yes, that was really good. And if they had access to this resource or this person or this knowledge, how could we help them really accelerate the implementation of their project? Maybe expand the reach, do something different that would really help set them up for success. And that's always the mindset, right? How do we set our students up for success? And in this case, the judges looked at it and said, how can we help set these winners up for success when somebody around the table had a little bit of knowledge or experience in that area? So I'm super grateful for the judges, because I just threw it out. And I know poor Teresa was sitting around the table like, Carlene, are you kidding me? Like, we're going to do this right now? I was like, hey, you guys, raise your hand. Who wants to mentor this group? And so the judges were great. They didn't know they signed up for that. And but it's hard to say no in that moment when, I'm like all excited. And so it was good. And I think everybody has had the opportunity to have a little bit of dialogue. I'm not sure how much value. I know for me, I don't feel like I was of any value except maybe like a cheerleader from the bleacher seats. But I think that depending on the project, definitely some of the judges just had, Dirk, you in particular, had extraordinary expertise going through that. I also just want to acknowledge the folks who did say, hey, let's just go for it. Let's just give this a try. We've got nothing to lose. You are leaders on your campus, and you are leaders to your students. The fact that you actually said, I'm going to go out and do this, speaks volumes to your students. And they're never going to say to you, hey, I really admire you because you did that. But internally, they're processing that. And they're like, my professor is awesome, because they're walking the talk, and they're out there really doing this, and they're doing it because they're in service to me as a student. And I value that. And I value all of you for doing that, because you all have described the pictures come from all over campus. We've had, Becky, you're a classic example. You're like, I'm leading this team, but it's not in my class. That's just amazing. And, Rush, you're not out there actually truly tossing manure with the ag students, but you see the value of it, right? So, and we see that. We see culinary proposals. We see proposals from all over campus. And that is very exciting, because it gets people talking to one another. And you know what? Community colleges are great places, and you work with great people, but sometimes you don't get to intersect with them. This is a great opportunity to intersect and build relationships with your colleagues, and ultimately everyone wins on your campus when that happens. So I'm grateful for your leadership, for that let's just go for it spirit and attitude. And we've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And so that's what makes this very exciting from our foundation's perspective, is to see that type of activity. We think that we're just a little bit of a catalyst. NACCE really is, they're the ones that do all the logistics and all the work. And so I'm grateful to Teresa and Erica and the whole team, Natalia and Ann and Becky. The NACCE team's just phenomenal. And they're, you know, across the board, they just do such a tremendous job. And you know, we do the easy part. I just get to show up and value your presentations and hopefully cheer you on and encourage you to keep going and fight the good fight, Dirk, when you get in trouble and somebody says, hey, you didn't ask for permission for that. Just, you know, continue to carry on and know that you've got friends all around you that are cheering for you.
Thank you, Carlene. That was great. And I know Carlene is going to go visit Becky and the TCAT folks on Friday. So how fortunate for both Carlene to see what they're doing and for Becky and her team to share what they're doing. And may we all be so fortunate that Carlene comes out and visits our program. So,
well, Teresa, I appreciate you mentioning that. And just to interrupt you real quick, I am trying to take each year the opportunity to go and visit. So I went to Catawba Valley Community College and also met with Wake Tech, who were prior year winners. So I had an opportunity to see their winning proposals in action coming to life, and it was amazing. And it was interesting with Wake Tech because they won, and Katie Gale said the fact that they were teaching entrepreneurial skills in their barbering program became amazing and pivotal when COVID happened, because so many people ended up becoming solopreneurs just to adapt to the environment. And they already had a head start on that education because they had won, and that was 2 years ago. So it is my goal each year to try and visit. Dirk, somehow I cannot find a way to get into my budget a trip to Kauai. But you know, each year I am trying to drop in on one of the programs and just see how things are going. It helps me to stay connected and see the value of what we're doing.
great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So for the 2022 pitch, excitingly, the NACCE 2022 conference is the 20th annual conference. So we're excited to be a part of it. And I'll just go kind of through the questions so we can get you guys up to speed on how do you apply this year now that you're all energized and heard. And let's not forget that past winners are welcome to apply again. So not the same project, but a different project. So we're not saying, or your campus. So do not exclude yourself, those 15 colleges. If you have another project lined up that meets the criteria, you can get that information at the NACCE site, which is nacce.com /pitch for the trades. And we have that right up there.
Yeah, so the first question we have in here is just to kind of run through some of those logistical details. And so how and where do you apply? So applications will be on that website, nacce.com /pitch for the trades. There'll be a nice orange button right at the top, and that application period will open on April 22nd, which is the last day of the Makeshift conference. Now, Teresa, that is typically a lot later in the year. Do you want to share that exciting news?
It's actually a lot earlier in the year, yes, because usually in the past 3 years, we haven't opened until August. But our goal this year is to really get people to think about, like Becky had said, get your list together, get your team together, and let's get your application in, if possible, before you leave for summer break. So we're going to open it up early in conjunction with Makeshift, April 22nd, and that will close on September 9th.
Awesome. So who is eligible to apply?
Anyone who's watching this is probably eligible to apply. If you're a NACCE member, your organization is a NACCE, your college is a NACCE member, you are eligible to apply. Keep in mind that this pitch competition is for faculty, staff, administrators at colleges. This is not a student competition. So there are other avenues for students. This is for you all as faculty, staff, and administrators to, like Russ mentioned, kind of dip your toe back into the actual pitching and see what you can do for your college. So all NACCE member organizations.
Absolutely. And I'll just share too that if you're unsure if your organization or if you are a NACCE member, you can find out that information at NACCE.com just by clicking on that members tab, and we'll be able to help make sure that you are a NACCE member. So how much is up for grabs? How much can somebody win?
Well, this, as in the past, any one project can win a maximum of $50,000. And this year we are giving away a whopping $150,000. So woo, that is our largest grant amount. And we're very excited. So we will forward roughly 5 to 7 winners to the final round to compete for the $150,000.
Yep. And I can say from experiencing the judging from last year, the judges deliberate and they look at stuff and they care about the projects that come out of this competition and do everything that they can do to make sure that projects are supported with the needs and are able to fulfill that. So moving on, let's kind of run over timeline, and then I have 3 questions that came in through the chat that I wanted to kind of highlight in there. So running over the timeline. So as we shared, oops, I misspoke on that one. It is the 22nd, not the 20th of April, that application will open on the website. And as Teresa shared, it'll close September 9th. So that gives you a bunch of time before the semester ends, all the way through the summer, and then a little bit as the semester gets started. Then afterwards, we'll announce the semifinalists. So there's 2 rounds. You apply, you're in the semifinals. That's on September 12th. On the 15th, we'll do a live virtual pitch. And so each semifinalist will have 5 minutes to pitch virtually here on Zoom. Teresa, do you want to share a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, just want to really clarify on that. That is broken up into not only your pitching, but also your Q&A. So you'll have 2 minutes to pitch, 3 minutes for questions from the judges. So it's a really quick, and it is like your practice round. Just get what your talking points down for the finals. So 2 minutes to pitch, 3 minutes for Q&A. And then we will announce the finalists. Really quickly, we'll make our decisions so that you have time to book your flights and get yourself ready to attend NACCE. One of the criteria is that you must either be registered in person or virtually for the NACCE conference to qualify for your application to be considered in the semifinals. But if you haven't purchased your plane ticket, we understand. So we'll give you as much time as we can to get that booked so that you can join us in Boston for the competition, which will be on October 4th, right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the conference.
That's right. And that has an 8-minute pitch. So there is it 3 minutes pitch and 5-minute Q&A? Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So like we shared, all that information is at NACCE.com/pitch for the trades. I do want to highlight, so one of the questions that came in, they have a great pathway in partnership with their local high school. And so they are looking at maybe some options there to partner with the high school. Is that allowed, or should it be exclusively to the community college?
For this particular pitch competition, we are not funding projects that are related to elementary, middle school, or high school projects. So that would not be considered in this round of competition.
Awesome. So then another one that came in, and it was actually kind of a 2-part question, kind of centered around forming an actual business. So I think the question came in, Russ, when you were talking about how you're doing the compost to create the businesses there. And so do they need to create a business out of this project, but also kind of pivoting off of that, do they need to have a workforce partner? So like a construction company that maybe if they go through the training program, they have employability or anything like that?
Well, that would be great if that would be just a bonus if you actually had employers who would be ready to hire your students right out of the program. And hopefully that's already in place, that with your advisory committees and everything, that you have businesses that are interested in your students. But it's not, and that would be great, but it's not a requirement. As far as businesses, one thing to keep in mind when we said that this is for faculty, staff, and administrators at community colleges, this is really for your program and growing your business and teaching the students how to run businesses. This is not something that funds a student business. So we want students to learn how to become business owners, but we're not supporting in this particular funding venture the students actually. They're funding their business. So if that makes sense to the question. But certainly if you have additional questions, you can certainly email us, and you can also find my contact information at NACCE.com under Pitch for the Trades. They have my email right there on the link.
Yep. And as we are coming to the top of our time, last question is, what exactly is what exactly is skilled trades? Because a lot of things have been mentioned, from barbering to composting to construction, and maybe my understanding is not correct. Can you dive into a little bit about what that large umbrella looks like?
Well, it is a large umbrella, and we've kind of we've thought a lot about that, and we're not limiting it. Whereas a literature program is not. We're not going to consider that in the skilled trades, but the things where the students are using their hands and creating something, those are trades that we would consider skilled trades. We're not just solely focused on truck driving and construction. So we do have room for culinary and cosmetology, anything where people are using their hands.
Awesome. I think if you think it might be a skilled trades, apply. That is all the questions that we have, and we are coming to the end of our time. Teresa, Carlene, Dirk, Russ, or Becky, do you guys have any last minute things to add?
I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, especially to our panelists and to Carlene. And a big shout out to Erica for helping moderate this webinar. And I'm open for questions. So thank you very much.